He didn't know it yet, but this was the night everything would change. South Africa, 1893. A young Indian lawyer, Mohandas Gandhi, is forced out of a first-class train carriage. He hits the ground, hard, dust, gravel, cold air cutting into his lungs. The train disappears into the night, leaving him alone on a silent platform. No witnesses, no allies, just humiliation and a choice. He can walk away, get back on the train and forget this ever happened. Or he can decide that in this moment, right here, right now, will not be the end of his dignity, but the beginning of something else entirely. A movement, a transformation, a destiny. Because history never begins with clarity. It begins with a decision made in the dark. And what Gandhi decides before sunrise will set his life, and eventually a nation, on a new path. As Gandhi paces the freezing waiting room for hours, he's not thinking about leading millions. He's just trying to answer one question. What do I do now? He doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have certainty. He only has a feeling that doing nothing is no longer an option. When the sunlight finally arises, he makes his choice. He will stay. He will resist. He will confront injustice instead of escaping it. This one decision becomes the spark because he committed to it completely. The trap of indecision, speaking to you. Now, what do you think? You might not be getting thrown off a train tonight, but you do face moments like this. In fact, maybe you're in one right now. You're maybe an ambitious person, an entrepreneur, a creator, someone with big dreams, yet you feel stuck. In a second, I'll tell you how to break that feeling. The thing is, you're standing at a personal crossroads, paralyzed by indecision. Maybe it's whether to quit your stable job for your startup idea, whether to move to a new city, whether to finally launch that project you've been postponing. You keep waiting for the perfect plan, for the fear to subside, for clarity. You tell yourself, I'll decide once I'm sure. I just need more time, more certainty. But days turns into months, and the big decision still looms, unresolved. Does it sound familiar? And if you've been carrying that quiet background tension that makes every decision feel heavier than it should, I put an anxiety test in the bio. It's something I genuinely recommend. Let's be honest, this waiting game is a trap. Clarity feels safe, but chasing perfect clarity can become an excuse to stay comfortable. The hard truth is that clarity comes after you commit, not before. Think about Gandhi on that platform. He had no clarity about how to end racial injustice at that moment. He wasn't a famous leader yet. He was just a young man with a first-class ticket and a principle. Clarity didn't get him off the ground. Decision did. Transformation doesn't start with everything neatly figured out. Transformation starts with a leap, with a decision, often a messy one made in the dark. Now, imagine you're the main character of this story. Picture your life as a film reel, paused at the critical scene, your train platform moment. It might not be dramatic on the outside. Maybe it's 2 a.m. and you're staring at the ceiling, heart pounding because you know something needs to change. Or it's a Monday morning and you're gripping the steering wheel, dreading your destination. These are the moments that create emotional pressure. Just like Gandhi's night on that train. What will you do? Will you continue in limbo, or will you take action without all the answers? Every great story and every great life hinges on when you decide, not when you feel ready. We have seen a public dramatic decision. Now, let's look at a quiet personal one, the kind that might resemble your situation. Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, a decision in the woods. Flash forward to 1929, New York. A young scholar named Joseph Campbell is pursuing a PhD at Columbia University. By all accounts, he's on a safe, prestigious path, the kind your family and friends applaud. But inside, Campbell feels a tug, a whisper that this path isn't his. He's been reading about myths and adventures, and ironically, he finds himself living a boring story by following the scripts others wrote for him. So he makes a bold move. He quits. Campbell walks away from his PhD program, midstream, stunning everyone around him. Instead of continuing at Columbia, he rents a tiny shack in the woods of Woodstock, New York, and retreats there alone for 5 years. 5 years of reading, thinking, and charting his own course in life. No diploma, no income, no certainty, simply a desire for reading books, specifically mythology. Why would anyone do something so drastic? Campbell later explained his mindset in no uncertain terms. I had to put in all the hours for the degree. All I had to do was write that thesis. They wouldn't let me study what I wanted, so I said, to hell with it. I went into the woods and spent 5 years reading. I never got the PhD. I learned to live on absolutely nothing. I was free. It was marvelous. That was Joseph Campbell's decision, in a very real sense. It was the moment his hero's journey began, going against the crowd. Joseph Campbell, during those years of independent study, he started on his famous book, The Hero with 1,000 Faces, articulating the hero's journey template that inspired countless storytellers like George Lucas, Christopher Nolan. And guess what the first step of the hero's journey is? the call to adventure. A moment when the hero is invited to leave the comfortable and venture into the unknown. Crucially, the hero has to choose to answer that call. Campbell didn't just study this idea, he practically lived it. He often said, you enter the forest at the darkest point, where there is no path. If you follow someone else's path, you're not going to realize your potential. In other words, the real hero's journey, whether in myth or real life, starts with the decision to step off the safe path and into the wilderness of the unknown. Campbell's own leap into the woods was exactly that. Transformation begins with a decision, not clarity. So what do these stories have in common? Both Gandhi and Campbell reached a point where not making a decision became more painful than the uncertainty of moving forward. Both seized control of their narrative in a single pivotal moment. They didn't wait for permission or perfect timing. They didn't wait for clarity, because clarity tends to show up after you choose, not before. At the time, it was the decision that came first. The clarity and the success came later. Now, apply this to your story. You have your own version of a call to adventure. It might be a problem you feel compelled to solve, a passion project that won't leave you alone, or simply the ache of knowing your current path isn't true to who you really are. You might not have a racist conductor showing you off the train, while your challenges might be quieter. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, the weight of others' expectations. But they're your villains to face, and every day you delay the decision, those fears win a little. Life's pivotal moments demand courage above all. When Gandhi was thrown onto that platform, he took a decision based on the injustice. When Campbell sat alone in that cabin, he chose to not live based on others' expectations. What about you? Deep down, you likely know which path aligns with your values. Your so-called bliss, as Campbell called it. The right decision, morally or personally, is usually the one that scares you the most because it forces you to grow. Remember, the beginning of any transformation story shows the hero in their ordinary world. Uncertain and often afraid, the exciting part usually only kicks in when the hero commits to the adventure. If you want that exciting life, the challenges, the growth, the eventual triumph, you have to answer the call and walk through the door. No one can do it for you. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's supposed to. That discomfort is the feeling of transformation happening. It's the adrenaline of stepping onto the abyss, not knowing where it's heading. What if a go for it will never resolve until you take that first step? If you keep waiting in your comfort zone, your story stalls out. Nothing changes. In life, that's when months or years slips by and you wonder, what have I been doing? Name your decision. So here we are. This is the part of the video where I turn it over to you, the protagonist of your own story. What is the decision you're avoiding right now? Take a second and name it. Actually say it out loud or write it down. Is it launching the business, ending a partnership, moving to a new market, changing your career, or hiring a team? Name the dragon you need to slay, because you can't conquer what you won't confront. Now, here's the challenge. After naming that decision, commit to making it. Not tomorrow, not someday, now, today. The moment this video ends, your next task is to take a single action that moves you towards that decision. It could be as simple as sending an email, making a phone call, or scheduling the meeting. It could be announcing your decision to someone you trust, burning the ship so you can't turn back. Whatever it is, do it. The point is to go from indecision to decision, from inaction to action. No more overanalyzing, no more waiting for a sign. If you were waiting for a sign, by the way, consider this video as a sign. Remember Gandhi on that platform. He could have stepped back on a train and no one would blame him. But then his story would have ended there. Instead, he stepped forward and the rest is history. The world might not be watching yet, but your future self is. And they're hoping you take this leap. Embrace the fact that transformation is scary, that you don't have all the answers, and decide anyway. Because on the other side of that decision is momentum, growth, and the knowledge that you're truly alive and in charge of your story. It's time to decide. And if the thing holding you back is mostly happening in your head, that anxiety test in the bio might give you some clarity before you make your move.